Started. So I want to welcome you to our April roundtable. So I'm Marcia Fouch. I'm one of the co-hosts, and Cheryl Oringo is the other co-host for the roundtable. We just want to ask you to stay on mute until we open it up a little later for you to introduce yourself and discussion after our main speaker. If you have questions or comments before then, you can use the chat, which we will be monitoring. And you don't have to worry about copying any links because we send out a follow-up email with the links. And if you have any comments about the roundtable or topics you'd like to hear about them, you can put them in the chat. Um, um, so basically, really quickly, what Third Act is, it's a national group started about 3 years ago by Bill McKibben for people who are over 60 years of age who still believe we can change the world. The focus is on climate justice and preserving our democracy. It's comprised of national affinity groups, faith, education, et cetera, and state working groups. And Third Act North Carolina is a statewide working group. We launched 2 years ago in February, and our coordinating committee has 7 people on it who are from Greensboro, Asheville, and the Triangle area. We also have active regional groups in these 3 areas. Our present members have Third Act North Carolina by their names. I can't see. Is Kate on?
No.
No.
Okay. We're yeah, we're thinking we're going to have a new coordinating committee member, but I don't think she's on yet. So we'd like to take a minute and go around and have you introduce yourself briefly and tell us your name, where you are from, and how you're entering the meeting today in a couple of sentences, and if there are any actions or announcements that you'd like to let the other third actors know about. So I guess we'll kind of start with Rosemarie.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rosemary Vardell, and I'm on the coordinating committee, and I am here in Greensboro. And I'm just glad to be in this space today. Somehow today I was feeling bombarded by all the stuff in the universe. So it's good to be here. Do you want us to pass it?
Yeah, that'd be great if you'd pass it.
Okay, yeah, so I'll pass it to Margaret.
Hi, I'm Margaret Rowlett from Greensboro, and I'd love to follow along with everything Third Act's doing, and your program tonight sounds really good. So I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
You want to pass it, Margaret?
I'll pass it to Cheryl.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Orengo. I live in Asheville, North Carolina. I'm one of the co-coordinators of the coordinating committee and co-host to this roundtable. So let's move on to Elizabeth.
Hi, y'all. I'm Elizabeth Chartrand. I live in Greensboro, and I've been a member of the coordinating committee, and I keep track of all of our members, and it's good to see y'all. And I'm glad to be here too. Things have been kind of hectic. It's nice to kind of settle in and see people. How about John Kramer?
Elizabeth. I'm John Kramer. I live in Durham. I'm a former member of the coordinating committee. And yeah, I love what Third Act is doing, and particularly excited to hear about actions to hold big oil accountable. I think we need to be, trying to get some money. How about that for the damage that's been done by climate change from the people that were integral in causing it? So that was excited to hear about that. And I will pass to
John.
Karen. How about Karen Beard?
Yay, exactly. Howdy, my name is Karen Bearden. I live in Raleigh, part of the coordinating team, and it's been a crazy busy day today, and right now it's quiet, but because they arrived at 6:26 this morning to start putting a new roof on. Oh my gosh, it's been so loud all day and lack of sleep. So I'll be glad when when all this is over, actually, and we can sleep tonight because it's been a stressful day. But I'm so happy to be with you, and I'm really excited to hear Mayor Foushee that invited, and she's working, and she's going to be joining on just before she speaks, and she might have to be off camera because she is still working. She's mayor plus she works, so there you go. She has a job or another job too, and I'll pass it to John.
Is that me? Okay, yeah, pardon me, I'm in the middle of eating dinner. I'm a volunteer here in, well, actually in Carrboro. I live in Pittsburgh, but I volunteer at Interfaith Council, the food pantry, food kitchen, men's shelter, etc. I also do other volunteering efforts with Neighbors on Call to get sane political candidates elected. I'm going to go back to letting you see my fan so I can don't eat in your face.
How about Karen Hodges?
Yeah, I'm Karen. I'm living in Charlotte. There are several different meetings tonight, and I came to this partly because I'm interested in Third Act, and partly because I've followed Duke Energy for a long time here in Charlotte, and really would love to see something happen. Lawsuit, and I have a connection to Carrboro too, because one of my children lives there and has some of the same interests. So, let's see. I'll pass it to Nancy.
Okay. I'm Nancy Sullivan. I'm in Greensboro. I live in Greensboro. I'm fairly new to the state, and I'm just trying to find my way. And thus, I get a lot of emails. And, I've sort of kept track of Third Act, but I think I've been to another online meeting. But I just love the idea of suing Duke. I'm with it.
Yes.
Totally with it. That's where we need to be, So that's why I came. I want to find out more. And yeah, I do some things, I'm not exactly an activist, but I do some things.
Right.
So that's all. Now, how do I pass it on?
Just Deborah, you want to go next? You just the
Hi.
next person, so yeah.
Deborah Staves,
Okay.
I live in Greensboro. And I was just trying to find this meeting and I ended up in another one, which I think is a national training that Third Act is doing. Third Act seems to be going in all directions now. So I'd really just like to stick with the climate stuff myself. But I think the name, I used to live in that area and there were a lot of people there named Foushee. So I think her name might be Foushee, by the way. And what else? I'm ready to go.
Deborah, you want to pass to somebody else or?
I don't know who else has, since I missed the first 10 minutes, I don't know who else
I
has
think,
not been on yet.
Nancy Sullivan?
Yeah.
Yeah, she went.
Oh, you went. Okay, I'm just looking
I
to
think
see.
that might be it. Yeah.
Did Elizabeth go? Yeah, Elizabeth went. Okay. Before we go any further, I was just going to ask Margaret if she wanted to talk a bit about the silent vigil. Did you want to say something?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Saturday, I hope anybody in the Greensboro area can come to the Friendly Center on North Lawn Drive. We're having a silent vigil to protest Tillis's silence on all the important things he should be speaking up on with respect to his constituents. And so we're going to be lined up down North Lawn, asking people to wear white if they have the opportunity. That's kind of, remember the silent sentinels of the suffragettes?
Yeah.
They wore white. So you don't have to bring a sign. We're going to have just one sign we have copies of for everybody that says silent Tillis equals silenced citizens. It's just going to be a different kind of event. And I'm pretty excited we're doing something different like this.
Yeah.
I like it.
Thank you. Thanks, Margaret.
I
So we've had different people have said how to say Barbara Foushee or Foushee. It's weird because my last name is Fouch, but it was Foushee when we first came to the United States. So, but it's spelled differently. But before we hear from Mayor Barbara Foushee or Foushee about the lawsuit that the city of Carrboro has filed against Duke Energy, we want to get some updates about what's going on with Third Act Central and in also in North Carolina in our different regions. So I'm gonna go to Rosemarie to talk about the Triad area.
Right. So, the triad is basically Greensboro, High Point, Winston, and that larger area. We have been having monthly climate cafes in downtown Greensboro at Scuppernong. And the last one we had was an exercise, basically, where the leader took the group through a process of looking back through 7 generations. That was a really interesting way to look at and think about the climate issue and the changes. So that's an example of the sort of kind of thing. Sometimes we have a speaker on a particular topic, but we do have an emphasis on getting to know each other and having exchanges. There's been a lot of work in Guilford County around the pipeline extension that is come through here. And so tomorrow, Thursday evening at 5:30, we're asking people to show up at the county commission meeting. There's been a lot of work done to just get that as a topic that they will address. And so that work has resulted in an opportunity to speak about that on Thursday. And we talked about the vigil. And then I think my dog is trying to do some kind of announcement here. Let me get rid of that for a second. The last one is that coming up on May 4th, which is Sunday at the Guilford County Courthouse, is a May Day event. We participated in the hands-off rally. So there's been a lot of action in Guilford County in terms of marches and rallies, and we've been involved in a lot of those. So yeah, that's Guilford County. And I will also let you know about Sunday. So the National Third Act is initiating really a strategy. It's a climate strategy to bring people, build a big coalition to come together around clean energy. So, in the past, and we'll still continue to do this, we've been a lot of actions trying to get organizations like banks and other financial institutions to stop doing something, which is financing fossil fuel projects. So we'll still do that, but this is a different strategy, which is talking about what we want people to do, people, organizations, et cetera. And so this is being built around solar energy, wind, and batteries. And these are things that we can work toward. And so we're building towards something positive. And this will be happening on what's the date?
September 20th and 21st.
September, yeah, that's right, 20th, 21st, which, and so it'll be 2 days that weekend of doing actions, activities, but there's going to be a lot of organizing and opportunities to bring people together, to educate folks about this. And so this is the idea. And then we'll sort of be sharing more and more as things get planned about how we can actually be involved in moving forward on these. And the goal is to still try to reach that, the goals that they set in Paris for 2030. We're trying to get there. All right, I'll pass it back to.
Okay, I guess that's me.
Yeah,
Yep.
Cheryl.
Yep. In Asheville, it took us a while to get going in Western North Carolina. everybody is dealing with issues. So we had our first climate cafe since Hurricane Helene. And we actually have a therapist who went through the training to do the climate cafe. We were at a coffee house. It probably wasn't a good choice. We're going to find another one. It was very loud. And so it was a little hard. And we only had a couple people, so I've got to work on that. But it was very good. It was a very good start. And this therapist is wonderful. She's amazing. Everybody was able to talk about their anxiety and their PTSD and all those kinds of things, and all 5 of us. So then yesterday we had our first happy hour. Asheville's famous for their breweries. So we have our happy hour at a brewery, and it's outside if it's nice weather, and then inside if not. And there were 12 people that attended that, and it was very good. Karen led that one, and I led the Climate Cafe today. And then I was on a meeting right before I came on this one. I am one of the hosts / endorsers. That's what we're calling ourselves. There's 20 organizations involved in the May Day action here tomorrow in the afternoon. And I am endorsed. I'm with Third Act and SURGE, which stands for Standing Up for Racial Justice. So I think we're ready to go. We're actually doing it in 2 cities. We're starting off in Hendersonville, and then we're coming to Asheville. There's a couple of little buses that were donated. And so people are going from Asheville to Hendersonville to lead that one. And then they're coming here to attend the one that we're having. So we have a lot of things going on. We have this in both places. We have this band in Asheville that's called Brass Your Heart. And it's very lively. It sounds very New Orleans, if you can imagine that. That's what it sounds like. So that's basically what we're doing. And so our next person is Karen Bearden.
Howdy, y'all. I'm going to give you a little bit of update what's going on across the state and some things we've heard about before on previous roundtables. So like in the past roundtables, we've heard from Casey and more recently from Claire from 7 Directions of Service, talk about the proposed Transco Southeast Supply Enhancement project. Last week, Transco applied for 2 air permits to the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality for its proposed methane gas pipeline. We were expecting that. And so now it has happened. If permitted and built, the pipeline would install 55 miles of 42-inch high pressure pipeline to North Carolina and Virginia, impacting more than 100 individual water body crossings and 16 watersheds, and dramatically expand 2 compressor stations in Airedale and Davison counties, where communities are already suffering some of the worst air pollution in the state. The application process for pipeline air permits will include a public comment period and could include public hearings this summer. So be on the lookout for more information in the upcoming newsletters on actions you can take, and by checking the website that I will put in the chat. And that information will also tell you about some upcoming Greensboro meetings that are going to be taking place this week and next. And just this afternoon, I had to add it to my notes. Again, we were expecting this, and now it's come the last day of April. This afternoon, the Army Corps 404 application, public notices for MVP Southgate are out. They've announced a 30-day comment period, and the comment period starts today, April 30th, and it goes to May 30th. So again, be looking out for some emails to take action and make comments, and there'll probably be some kind of Zoom meetings that you can join to figure out what comments to make, and I will include that website in the chat also. And I've mentioned Senate Bill 261 during our last roundtable, and Representative Pricey Harrison spoke about it briefly earlier this month on our call. After the Senate quickly passed the bill, it moved to the House, where it still sits in the Rules Committee, and we like things to go, well, the bad bills we want to go to the Rules Committee and die, right? The good bills we want to get out of there. But so it's still sitting there. There's no one in the House that wants to lead it, which is good. But guess what? Then the Senate, the majority in the Senate, has the whole Senate Bill 261 in their budget, in their state budget, the whole text of the terrible bill. And so what that bill will do would remove the 2030 carbon reduction goals that Duke Energy is required to meet by law, and let Duke Energy charge customers for new projects while they are under construction.
Oh,
Right. And so that is not good at all. And so now the House has to do their budget too, right? And so we're hoping it won't be in the House budget, and then whatever. And if it has to, Josh Stein hopefully will veto it. So it's going to be, several months long. So you'll be hearing from us again on that. And then I'll remind you to check either your Sunday email from us, and it was also in the email reminder today about our roundtable. But the May 5th and 6th meetings about the proposed gas plant in Person County is in there. So you need to make sure you check that, and comments need to be made on that also, because Duke Energy wants to make too many gas stuff, right? And so what we need more of, and Rosemary talked a little bit about it earlier, is our Sunday event in September. But with Sunday coming up, another action you can take is with Solar United Neighbors, and they're a partner with Third Act, and they have a petition, a letter you can send to tell Congress to protect solar investments. And I'll put that link in the chat also, and all that will be in the follow-up stuff also that you will get.
ooh.
So yay, I see
Yeah.
our speaker has arrived, and she's been working, and she's still working, but she's going to be joining us and probably off camera here. But let me go ahead and introduce you. And so, okay, so I want to introduce, I have the honor to introduce Mayor Barbara, is it Foushee? Is it Foushee?
Foushee. Foushee.
Foushee. See, it was Foushee or Foushee. Got it. Foushee. Got it. Okay. So, howdy. She was first elected to Carrboro's council in 2017 before being elected as the first Black woman mayor of Carrboro in November 2023. Along with her busy job as mayor, Barbara is a senior technologist in molecular oncology laboratory in Research Triangle Park, and has spent her career working in clinical laboratory sciences. She grew up in Eastern North Carolina and earned a bachelor's degree in medical technology from St. Augustine's University. She has championed housing access and affordability, inclusive community engagement, and community building on issues that matter to all of us. We are so grateful that she can join us with her busy schedule to tell us about the historic lawsuit that Carrboro announced in last December. Thanks, take it away.
Hello. And I first apologize. I hope I don't have to be off camera the whole time. I was explaining during the invitation process, my job tends to take center stage in a lot of different ways, particularly in the middle of the week. And so this is the position that I find myself in, but I can talk about this lawsuit. And there's so much to say about it from Carrboro's perspective. And I think what I'm going to do is just talk about why the town of Carrboro brought this lawsuit forth. And then why Duke Energy? I think we probably know the answer to that. And I also want to talk about how the town of Carrboro is being harmed by by climate impacts, like so many other towns and municipalities and communities across the country, certainly across the state of North Carolina. And so I want to talk about, even before that, is how the town of Carrboro got involved. So when this idea was first broached to the Carrboro Town Council, I was not the mayor. Damon Siles was the mayor, and I was on the council. The council then, of course, they were very engaged around this idea of working with North Carolina Warren and the Centers for Biological Diversity on this potential legal action. Fast forward, we asked for more information. By the time we got that information, I was the mayor, and several council members that were there in the beginning had left the council, and we had gained 3 more. The good thing about that is the current council was just as engaged and was really behind pursuing this legal action with the town of Carrboro as the plaintiff, and Duke Energy Corporation, who that's who we're suing. So I want to make a distinction between Duke Energy Corporation and Duke Energy Carolinas LLC. So the lawsuit is against the Duke Energy Corporation. Duke Energy of the Carolinas LLC, they are our frontline workers who restore power after storms and help bring power to new developments. It is the parent company of Duke Energy Carolinas LLC, Duke Energy Corporation, that are the defendants. And I tend to say that pretty much in every interview. I think it is important to make that distinction, even though Duke Energy Corporation, as we know, is the parent company. So what we also know about Duke Energy is that they are a mega polluter. It is my understanding that they're ranked as the 3rd largest climate polluting corporation in the United States and one of the largest corporate polluters in the world. And so I'm going to go back to why bring the lawsuit now. Well, the number one reason is because of the worsening climate crisis. What we do know is that it's not getting better, as we recorded the hottest summer on record in 2024. And so, we continue to be on the front lines of hurricanes and flooding. And the second reason is the slow walk transition. Slow walking, coal burning power plant retirements, greatly expanding fracked gas burning power plants, and also just impeding renewable energy solutions like solar. So basically, in a nutshell, what we're saying is Duke Energy Corporation has been very slow to transition to cleaner, more renewable energy. And the third piece is the deception, which is at the heart of the lawsuit. Duke Energy Corporation misled the public and decision makers about the climate crisis and its harm to the planet and the people. And this happens by way of their business practices and also the delay of the critical clean energy transition that we know is necessary to stop the pollution of our communities and subsequently our planet. And so that is what is at the heart of the lawsuit that was filed in December of last year. It is a public record for those who want to consume that. I believe it's about 50 pages. But I always start out with that as well. So it is about deception. It's also about damages and also about the prevention of future harms in the Carrboro community. So the deception piece, when you think about it, I also use the parallel of the tobacco companies, what they knew when they knew it. So we know that tobacco companies did, they knew the harm that tobacco smoking caused to humans. And, I think we might be old enough to remember, these cigarette commercials and advertisements that, had smoking out there looking sexy and cool, and it's just a thing to do, to smoke a cigarette. But in the meantime, the damage that cigarette smoking does to human beings, that was not center stage until later. as these civil actions were brought against tobacco companies, millions of dollars in civil suits by folks who could prove that there was a direct connection between cancers and other ailments that could be tied back to cigarette smoking. So it's kind of the parallel that we use here with what the Duke Energy top executives knew when they knew it, and the slow walk to just kind of let that be known to the public and to, you know, kind of govern their business practices accordingly. And that's something that has not occurred. It's been deceptive to the customers and to policymakers and you know, just the general public. So I now want to talk a little bit about the harm in the town of Carrboro. So, you know, we're on the hook for a good bit of money as it relates to repairs to our roadways, rising energy bills, and other infrastructure costs, primarily stormwater infrastructure. And so I know that town of Carrboro staff had been following this for several years prior to the lawsuit, and they used some statistical model that said that the town could incur up to $60 million in damages in the coming years. Now, for context, our annual town budget is around 81 million. So, you know, that also was an eye opener for us. And these models that town staff use, they've also been used in other communities across the country to calculate these damages. So that is kind of it in a nutshell. There is, I think there's a few other items that I could probably share with you. You know, I want to go back to big tobacco because, you know, courts, you know, they held big tobacco responsible for, you know, a decades long campaign about the dangers of cigarette smoking. And Duke Energy could be held liable for the consequences of the same type of deception as it relates to fossil fuel emissions. So some people have asked, what happens if the town has any type of monetary damages from Duke Energy? It would set a precedent for sure for challenging any utility about climate impacts and deception campaigns, but certainly we would use anything anything that we might be awarded, we will pour it back into the community, particularly as it relates to stormwater infrastructure and resilience. Folks have also asked, how much are town taxpayers paying for this lawsuit? Who's paying? Taxpayers are not paying. There's nothing coming out of the town's coffers. As I mentioned earlier, there is North Carolina Warren and the Centers for Biological Diversity, who were our resources during this whole process leading up to the lawsuit. And North Carolina Warren is actually footing the bill for the attorney of record, Mr. Matthew Quinn. Another thing that I did want to share about the case, Duke Energy Corporation has filed a motion to dismiss the case. And the attorney of record is supposed to file a response to that motion by tomorrow. So we look forward to an update from Mr. Quinn. He may send something tonight, but certainly no later than tomorrow. So I believe that probably was expected, you know, for them to file the motion to dismiss. And so for a local government to take this kind of measure, you know, truly moves away from this business as usual mentality, you know, as Duke Energy continued to expand burning of fossil fuels and continue this whole thing about being deceptive, you know, about their practices and just about the damages of climate change. So the town of Carrboro really hopes this lawsuit will eventually help many disadvantaged communities in North Carolina, you know, who are being harmed by storms and other fossil fuel driven climate harms. And I think that we all can agree um, that even short storms are intense and dump huge amounts of rain in short period of time. Certainly there are pockets in Carrboro that flood on a regular basis. And also when it's really hot in the summer, it wreaks havoc on our roadways as it relates to repaving and, you know, asphalt quality. So there's quite a bit on the line with this lawsuit. It is in alignment with what we're doing here, or what we're trying to do here in the town of Carrboro. We do have a couple of climate action plans that we are in the process of implementing, and we really work to integrate climate change into everything that we do. Climate change is one of the pillars of our Carrboro Connects comprehensive plan, and our town manager has seen fit to hire also a chief sustainability officer. So, you know, being a plaintiff in this lawsuit is another tool in the toolbox. It helps to keep the conversation about climate change and climate change mitigation on the table and on people's minds. We do have a climate denier in the White House. It is not a priority. Clean air, clean water, clean anything. You know, it's just not a priority. Humanity is not a priority. And so it will fall to us, you know, the people. And we have people power, you know, these grassroots movements and organizations will be what sustains the climate change and climate change mitigation and the climate change movement. I'm always really excited. I spoke to the UNC Sunrise group a couple of weeks, maybe it was about a month ago, and just talked a little bit about the lawsuit and some of the things we're doing here in the town of Carrboro. And it's good to know that our young people are so engaged. And I think I saw where there was also a protest in Raleigh recently. And so it's stuff like that. It's going to be up to us to keep our foot on the gas, you know, because I mean, you know, we have a different administration at the federal level. We do have Governor Stein here in North Carolina, and we have to keep getting his attention as well. But, you know, he has a lot of stuff on his plate, but certainly, you know, climate change is on everybody's plate. And, you know, we're getting ready to enter into, you know, the summer season, and as the earth warms more and more, I just anticipate that it's just going to be another hot summer. You know, rising energy costs, you know, and all the havoc, you know, this you know, kind of put on all of us. You know, we get these big supercell thunderstorms, and you know, hurricane season is coming. You know, so there's a lot at stake, and you know, we realized going in that it was a David Goliath situation. You know, little bitty Carrboro, $22,080 million annual budget. But you know, desperate times call for desperate measures, and you know, we felt like it was the right thing to do. It was a unanimous vote, you know, by every member of the town council. We've heard great feedback from folks, and then we, you know, of course, we've heard from some folks, you know, that have said, "Hey, we hope they turn your lights out in Carrboro and that you go back to the ages of candlelight. You know, you're able to see by candlelight." So, but that's been fewer than folks that have said, "Hey, we appreciate you, and you know, thank you for doing that." And so that, in a nutshell, is about what I wanted to share with you. I'm certainly willing to entertain any questions. If I could get just like, if I could move away for just like 1 minute, I got to check something real quick, and I.
I'll just take a moment here to say, we have the newest member of our coordinating committee, Kate Howe. Are you back, Mayor? And I didn't know if Cheryl, if you wanted to take a few minutes to just talk about Kate. while we're waiting for Mayor Foushee to come back. Okay, sorry, unmute, sorry. Somebody asked to mute. Okay, let me unmute everybody. I'm having trouble here. Looking for Cheryl there. Are you unmuted now, Cheryl?
I'm unmuted, but Kate's not.
Oh, okay, sorry. I thought, okay. Okay,
Hello.
okay.
Okay, so we have a new coordinating committee member. Her name is Kate Cahal, right? Did I say
K-How.
that right? Cahal.
Close.
Um,
Long A. K-How.
And Kate lives in Boone. And she is very interested in Third Act. She's a good friend of Nancy LaPlaca's, who is on the staff of Third Act. So, ooh, look at that. That's really cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Mhm.
Beautiful.
So this is Kate.
Hey, everybody. I'm happy to be here. Sorry I'm late.
Oh,
That's beautiful.
It's wild over here. It's wild over here today.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them, to the best of my ability. I'm not the attorney, but I think I know a little bit about the case. And, if there are other questions, I tried to be comprehensive in what I was bringing forth. And I think it was Karen I've been emailing with. I did see where the House passed that crazy DEI bill. It ain't gonna make it across the finish line. That's what my hope is. It's just the wildest thing ever. I've heard so many. I'm off topic a little bit. I apologize, but I just, we're just inundated, with these things that are going on, and sometimes I just feel we've lost track of people, lost track of humanity, right? The needs of people, in the midst of all these culture wars and stuff, and so I don't know. It's just tragic. I digressed. So I apologize.
But
Are there
you're
any
right
questions?
on.
I'm sorry.
We all
Are there
feel
We
any-
get here.
Yeah, I'll just leave that. I just leave that where it is. It's a big part of what we do here in the town of Carrboro, and it's a very vague bill, and so that's something else that's also scary. But we'll have to see what happens in the Senate. I do believe Governor Stein will veto that.
Oh, yeah.
And so, we still have some hope there. So,
I think Deborah raised her hand. She might have a question.
yes, Deborah.
I was wondering if you have a timeline for this lawsuit and how long you think it might be before it goes to court or whatever.
Yeah, so that's a legal question. That would be Matthew Quinn. But I will tell you, in the last update we received from him, he had mentioned something about maybe a hearing as early as August. But that was before the motion was filed by Duke Energy to dismiss the case. So I'm not sure how that, but when we get the update, probably tomorrow after, because I know Mr. Quinn had until May 1st tomorrow to file a response to Duke Energy's motion to dismiss the case. And I would have more of an update then once he gives it to us.
How likely is it that I'm Kate? Nice to
Okay.
meet you, Barbara. How
Hello.
likely is it do you feel the case will, I'm sorry I came in late, so you may have already discussed this, but how likely do you feel it is that the case will go forward?
Oh, that's hard to say, working its way, through the courts. And again, that's another legal question. It's really hard to say how this will end up, what judge will end up in front of. I mean, it's just kind of hard to say. But our hope is that we will be heard in a fair manner by whatever judge, and that we'll get a positive result. And even if we don't, say if we don't win, there's some points that have been made as a result of this lawsuit, to be bold enough to step out, to continue to call attention to climate change, which is not going anywhere. I mean, we all know that it's something that we're going to have to keep working on. People power, is what I tell people, don't be too distressed about what's going on in Washington, D.C. We do what we can do from our corners of the communities that we live in. And so that is the kind of positive attitude that I'm trying to take, because everything can't be taken away from us. The spirit of a community is in the people. It's not on a policy and it's not on the law. It's in people, and people make a community.
Right, community.
Whoever's next, happy to. I see John and Elizabeth, I think.
Oh, yes, John and Elizabeth.
I was wondering whether you had any other entities, governmental cities, towns want to join in with you on the lawsuit.
Yeah, and so that was a question that came up, and folks would have to file the lawsuits on their own. They would have had to have skin in the game when we were moving in December. And so it was just us, understand people would be hesitant, right? To do something like that, to call attention. It's a big thing to step out and do it. But at this point, if another municipality was interested, they would have to step out and do that on their own.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me. I don't know how to operate this thing.
Nancy, it's fine. Go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, John said somebody.
John can go after you.
John said, help me over here.
I mean, it all looks different from the usual that I see on Zoom. But I think it's a great thing you're doing. I understand it may go on, and it may not result in much, but just already the media coverage is so good. It's like saying to people, yes, you can, yes, you can, yes, you can. They're bad. Okay. In what ways are they bad? Well, let's get them. So how is there any work, like how are you getting media coverage, like in other places about this suit? Because it'll touch other people.
Right. And so when the that has been the beauty of having resources through North Carolina Warren and the Centers for Biological Diversity. They were a resource with the lawsuit, but also media contacts. And so there's been a lot of interviews. I've had meetings just like this one with a lot of different folks who were interested in the lawsuit, how it originated, and how it's going, and things of that nature. And so folks they reach out through the town manager. Hey, we want to talk to the mayor, about the lawsuit. We got a lot of media coverage when the lawsuit was filed. We got a lot of interviews that were set up through North Carolina Warren and also through the Centers for Biological Diversity. So they were really helpful in making sure that the story got out to various news outlets. It even went to the New York Times.
Yeah, I know.
It's been some pretty big places.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, John.
Is John unmuted over there? John been fighting that mute button.
I have been fighting the mute button,
Hey,
but
John.
obviously it's now cooperating, so I'm thankful for that. So one of the great advantages of litigation is discovery, right? You can serve subpoenas, you can make the other side produce things, and you mentioned deceptive practices by Duke, and that was certainly, I think, a big part of the tobacco litigation was finding internal memos and things that basically said, yeah, we know this stuff causes cancer, but we can't tell anyone that. And so my question is, I was just curious, have you found anything like that so far with Duke that you can share with us? I'm sure they've got internal records about climate change that acknowledge it's a problem.
Yeah, and so I would have to check with the attorney, to just see what
Sure.
if there are any discoveries. I'm happy to do that. He's probably going to update us here in the next few days, about what will come next legally. But I certainly can ask him about that. And this goes back decades. Some of those executives are probably dead by now, but it just seems like it's continued, right, for decades as well. That same narrative, not really recognizing, the powerful impact of climate change on the planet and the people. And so it's just kind of continued, and then the slow, almost non-existent transition to cleaner, more renewable energy. So even though as early as I believe like the 60s, this information started to just crop up, right? And so some of those folks are probably no longer with us potentially, but then the narrative there still exists in the top tiers of Duke Energy Corporation, as we've been able to see, through their business practices and other things that they're not doing. But yeah, that's a good question. I'm going to write it down and ask the attorney. I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of thing. I mean, it can really capture the public's imagination too. So regardless of what happens in court, in the court of public opinion, if you make Duke have to explain what they've done, that's a victory in itself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm writing it down. I'm sure going to ask him.
Good point.
Yeah, thanks for the question, John.
Sure.
Rosemary.
Thanks for this work and sharing it with us. I'm wondering about the role of the community in getting this on the table and helping continue to have a focus on it. Sort of what were the kind of things that people did to help keep up the pressure?
So that's a good question. And the pressure has been on us from the community, not necessarily about the lawsuit, but to keep climate change and climate change mitigation on the front burners. So, we've had elected officials, past and present, that have really pressed for more money in the budget for climate change mitigation. We have our climate action team, advisory board is now Climate Action and Environmental Advisory Board. We have those community climate action plans. And so there are various things that are done by town staff, as well as some things grassroots out in the community that keep climate change in the forefront. Folks are very cognizant, right down to, we have composting efforts in various neighborhoods in town. And so there are just things that are being done, in neighborhoods as well as town staff to help mitigate climate change. So the press is in community, what they do, and also the press is from town staff and how we operate as local government.
Oh, great, thank you.
Oh, I see that, documenting Duke Energy's early knowledge and ongoing deception. Where'd you get that, Karen?
That is, I was just getting ready to say, that was the awesome Sue Sturgis that works for Energy and Policy Institute. And she might have been at the press conference in December, I think. But I know her report, I know that's what they were, I think someone from NC1, either Jim or Jean from the center were talking about that report in December. Yeah.
And so I wonder if what John was talking about, I wonder if there's anything in there. But no, because the question from John was if the attorney of record discovered anything. That was your question, right, John? He can't unmute himself. Look at him. He's stuck in there, he's laughing. Look at John.
The minute you go in,
Marcia has it.
Help me.
Yeah, she has it fixed.
Yeah, I think what John was asking was different. And you said this is Sue Sturgis?
Yeah, Sue Sturgis article that came out in November, John. Yeah.
Yeah, Yeah, good deal. I mean, regardless of the source.
I think it goes back to like the 50s or the 60s. So
Oh,
it's just
wow. Yeah.
just
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
Exxon knew, Duke knew, they all knew. They all knew. They know. They know. They just lie.
Just like tobacco.
They just lie. And then like, like Monday was the latest in the Duke carbon plan. What do they call it? What do they call it? The Duke carbon plan thingamajig. And, because they're talking about the latest carbon plan, right? And so they were talking a little bit about solar, and they're like raw 1%. Raw 1%.
1%.
But look at all the years that have passed, though. See, that's what, is probably is troubling for folks, is just tracking all the years that have passed where literally nothing has really been occurring as far as them transitioning, and making like a stronger push, to transition and ultimately, hopefully, change some of their business practices. And, we've just not seen that. I don't think we have anyway. I think, folks would agree that we've not seen it with them.
Right.
And it's all connected to Senate Bill 261 that I was talking about earlier, that they're trying to squeeze in to the Senate budget, and also to all these proposed gas pipelines that, and then Duke Energy goes, oh, we need more gas now because of these stupid data that we have to stop. There's so much is unbelievable, and they're connected to it all. So we're really glad we're doing this, City of Carrboro, yay.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just concerned about us.
Right.
So it just seems to not matter whether we have clean air, clean water. I mean, the rollbacks of some of these environmental regulations that we've enjoyed and been shrouded in, right, and felt safe and cared for. I mean, they're gone. So what now?
They're taking us back.
Yeah, what now?
Yeah, and the federal and the state. I mean, our state doing these terrible things, right?
Yeah. So what now? Back to people power. I mean, literally that's what it's going to be. We got to keep showing up at the General Assembly, keep pressing Governor Stein. We have to keep our foot on the gas pedal. Everybody. Yeah. It's a scary time, but we got to keep putting one foot in front of the other. I have to keep saying it, to even motivate myself some days, because it's just like, and what I do also want to share is, there's some bills that will further erode municipal authority. There are bills, floating around for that. House Bill 765 rises to the top, right now, that is really going to mess with our planning and zoning authority, any municipality in the state of North Carolina. And we're in the process of writing a unified development ordinance. So it's like, what are we gonna do? Right? So it's a lot going on. A lot going on. Then it becomes like, if you're putting this kind of clamp down on municipal elected officials, y'all might as well control the whole state, because we're not gonna have any authority to do anything.
Yeah.
And it's going to change the way your community looks, because the elected officials, it won't be in our hands anymore, right? It'll be in the hands of some statute that comes, from Raleigh, from the General Assembly. And so, I mean, it won't even be anything for us to really discuss. But that hasn't made it yet. There's been a lot of pushback, from mayors from across the state. But, it's dangerous. And it even includes something where elected officials and even our town manager, town staff could get sued based on decisions that we make at the dais.
Oh God.
Kate said, please unmute me.
Oh,
Kate is muted.
where is she?
I don't see Kate.
Oh, there
she
you are.
is. She's there.
These things keep moving around. It's like those what is it?
Kate
Stars?
wants to be unmuted.
Square stars.
Thank you.
I don't.
Okay. What's up? Did you have a question for me, or?
Not specific, just listening.
Okay.
Wanted to be able to vocalize if if I was feeling angry, ready for a revolution. I mean,
Yes.
isn't that one of our next options?
Yeah, and it's only been 100 days. So they said
Oh,
yesterday.
no.
It feels like 1,005.
It does. It
Seriously.
really does. Yeah, it's so
Yeah,
bad.
did anybody watch last night? Nobody
What was-
watched?
Oh,
I see heads
Michigan,
shaking.
I can't look at him.
in Michigan, no, I was watching, there's a new North Carolina Progressive Caucus. Did you know that? And Deb Butler is the chair and Renee
Oh, I
Price.
love Deb Butler. You talking about Deb Butler from Wilmington?
Yes,
Oh my God.
she's a chair, and Renee Price is the co-chair,
Oh.
and Pricey Harrison, Marsha Moray, and Maria, there's a 10 women, there's not a guy on that
I'm
progressive
telling you,
caucus.
you got quite
Maybe they
a
didn't
crew
know.
there. They rough and tumble too, all of them. Deb
was-
Butler in particular.
Yeah. So several of those progressive members were speaking very loudly against that stupid, terrible DEI bill. They were very,
It was so messy.
I love Marsha Moray. She's really great. People that live
She
and
is.
have
Yeah.
Marsha are lucky to have Marsha.
It's just
Wow.
messy. Just messy. Can I get somebody to tell me a little bit more about Third Act?
Oh, yeah.
About
Oh,
Marsha-
yeah, you weren't here when Marcia was talking about it.
At the beginning.
Do you want me to,
She's
do you want me
really
to
good
do
at
it, Cheryl, or do you want to do it?
You're really good at it.
My little spiel here.
Yes.
Let me just see here.
Have you heard of Bill McKibben? I think I told you about it. Yeah, so
Yeah,
Bill
so
McKibben that started 350.org back in 2008. He started Third Act. Go ahead. Go ahead, Marcia.
okay, you want me to, let me just find it. So we're a national group. We started about 3 years ago, like like Karen said, by Bill McKibben. I think basically when he turned 60, about the time he turned 60,
Yep,
he
turned 60.
decided that that there were, that he still had some juice and that there were a lot of people, like a lot of people over 60 years old who still wanted to work to change the world. So the focus that we is on climate justice and preserving the democracy. And then we have like national affinity groups like faith, education, and then we also have statewide working groups. So Third Act North Carolina is our statewide working group, which we launched 2 years ago in February. And then we have regional groups in Asheville, the Triad, and the Triangle. So, and then there are campaigns, and somebody help me out. They have new names now. We have three national campaigns that we all work on.
Democracy and voting.
Yeah, banking on our future
And
and
Power Up Communities.
power up communities.
Our communities. Yep.
And Power Up Communities is about democratized energy, so it's all the utility stuff. And Nancy LaPlaca, that used to do some contract work for NC Warren, she, as Marcia mentioned earlier, she's a part of Third Act now too, so that's cool. So we talk a lot about Duke Energy on those calls. and the other bad utilities. There you go.
Yeah. You might want to join those sometime, Barbara.
Does that that's kind of it in a nutshell. Do you have any specific questions or Barbara? Sorry.
Oh, she's mute.
Uh-oh.
What?
She's muted.
Because she muted herself, then you have to unmute whenever
Okay. All right. Well, let me get back to this. Let me get back to this thing. I don't know. I should not have ever done that. People were asking me because they were hearing noises to mute people, so that I did.
No, I don't.
well, everybody's unmuted. We're not muted anymore.
Not now.
Yeah, I'm not muted, but I don't think I don't think I have any questions. It was just good to hear a little bit. So you're 3 years old, roughly.
Yeah. The
TA
national is 3 years old. The state is 2.
January.
Yeah.
And how often do you meet? And your primary work is climate change.
Well,
And-
and democracy and voting.
Democracy.
Oh, democracy. Oh, yeah. Okay.
And we're doing a lot of democracy work right now.
Right.
You
And
meet
so,
once a month or how often?
Once a month.
Okay.
The statewide group meets once a month, and then like our regional group meets once a month, like in the triad area.
Can you keep me on the list?
Yeah,
Sure.
that'd be great.
Sure.
Yay.
Is this the normal meeting time? Or is it?
No.
It kind of changes. It kind of changes depending. And I think I told you that we were Sarah from NC Warren's going to be our speaker next month. Yay.
Oh, I
Yeah.
definitely want to come for that.
There you
I always let us
go.
know when I'm not the featured speaker, so I could just show up. Yeah, keep me
Yeah,
on the
sure.
list if you
Okay,
don't mind.
that'd be great. Be great. Thanks so
No, I
much.
would like that. And then that'll remind me to kind of keep you informed as the lawsuit kind of
Okay.
chugs its way through the court, because I expect an update here in the next couple of days.
Right.
Yay.
Yeah.
We are your cheerleaders.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I need cheerleaders. Hey, you know what? I'm so excited. I'm gonna share this with y'all because it's crazy. It's a win for me. You know, I went to the DMV this morning and got out in 15 minutes.
Woo!
Oh
What?
my God. That's
How did you do
unbelievable.
that?
Y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all know. Well,
That is unheard of.
I had an appointment. Let me just be honest. I had an appointment that I made in
Yeah.
January. Okay, so
Wow.
I had to keep
Wow.
looking online for an appointment. I got one for this morning, 7:30. I rolled in. The line was already down in Carrboro. Who knows where the office is in
Oh
Carrboro?
my
In
God.
Carrboro Plaza.
It's crazy.
Yeah, a crazy line, right? It was crazy this morning at 7:20 when I got there. So I sat down at 7:30. They called me at 7:35. I was walking out about 7:45.
Wow.
Oh
That's
my
impressive.
I could not have been more, and I didn't need a real ID either. I got mine 2 or 3 years ago, so it was a license renewal.
Wow.
It made me feel a little bit, I mean, you know what I'm saying? And supposedly we have a new commissioner because Goodwin, I think he resigned, and I think they named somebody else. So he said he's going to try to revamp things and make it better, but we'll see.
Need to be. Asheville has one
Oh my God.
What?
an office.
For all of Asheville?
Yes. It's crazy, crazy.
That is crazy.
These
What's
poor
your
kids who want to
population
get
in
their
Asheville
license.
again? What's the
These
population in
teenagers that want to
Asheville?
get their license, they can't get in there. They can't do it.
Oh, God. That sounds bad. Are y'all gonna finish your meeting or was this
Yeah,
the end?
Yeah, no, this is, I gotta
at the
go.
end.
This is it. We're finished.
Yeah.
Oh,
We
I
are done.
appreciate this. This
Thank you
was
so much.
nice.
Thank
Thank
you
Keep me
so
on the
much
list.
for joining us.
Thank
We're so
you.
glad that you could join us.
Thank you,
Yay.
Barbara.
Yeah, so I guess
Thank
I
you.
would communicate back through Karen.
Okay, that'd be great.
Sure.
As soon as I, get some type of public update that I can share, I'll communicate it back with Sharon, and I'll take in John's question as well.
Okay, great. Thank you
So
so much.
Barbara, I worked in health education and public health, and our office worked with the tobacco issue, doing the same thing you did.
Oh,
You're
wow.
doing. Yeah. We were the
Yeah.
ones that helped to get the law made, and of course then they let go of it, but then the restaurants loved it because they got more business. So, it really worked.
Interesting. Yep.
Yeah. So
Well,
like
good book
somebody said our next roundtable, do you have that there, Cheryl? The next one, information
Oh,
about
yeah,
that?
yes. Sorry, where people are leaving. I forgot to, we're just having a nice chat.
I think it's March. I think it's May 20th. Is that right?
It's
Yeah.
May 20th at 6 o'clock.
May 20th at 6 o'clock, and it will feature Sarah Heilman, who will talk about NC Warren's Sharing Solar campaign as part of their broader Stop Climate Deception campaign.
May
They recently-
20th. That's on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
And they're kicked off a lawsuit as well.
Council
No.
meeting night, so I'm pretty sure I won't be able to make that. That's our council meeting night.
Well,
Okay.
And
we
we're,
might record it.
we're also in the midst of budget season. So
Well, if you sign up for it, you can listen to it. We record
The
these.
recording.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Karen will help me with that.
Yeah, I'll share the recording with you.
Yeah, that'll be great. Well, I
Okay.
appreciate you guys so much. I appreciate them.